Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, race number 10 at the fairgrounds on Saturdays, the Grade 2 Muniz Memorial Classic. Let's take a look at this field. It is a $300,000 purse, and it is a full field of quality turf horses. Chad Brown has the 6 Instilled Regard, a horse whose career has been rejuvenated since switching to the turf. You've got some really nice horses like Channel Maker in here. Chad has Rock Emperor coming off of the long layoff. Factor This is here. And as we scroll to the second page, a very big name, hoping to improve in his second start of the form cycle. That is the number 12, Synchrony. We take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this race, Mike, and Timeform has the 10 Secretariat War out there on the lead, adding blinkers off the claim for Norm Cassie, but I would have to think that the 9 Factor This is going to be on the front, unless the 10 is just quarter horsed out of there.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm sure Secretariat War's connections want to be forward in this race, but they may not be able to get the lead over Factor This. And I don't know why they would change the running style with Factor This after he wired that field last time.
A nice New York bred with excellent tactical speed, at least going longer distances, is the number 1 Dot Matrix. This is a horse that got a graded stakes win last time out in the John B. Connolly, going 1.5 miles. We're going to watch that race right now. He got right up close to a very slow pace. They went 3/4 of a mile in this race in 1:18.1. Dot Matrix is going to win. I was disappointed with Martso's third place finish. He is also in this race. While Dot Matrix has done good work at 1.125 miles, do you think he's sort of turned the corner at these longer distances?
Yeah, I mean, maybe he has, Dan. If I'm being honest, I thought when they stretched him out 2 back in the Red Smith that distance was just going to be too far for him. He actually ran well that day, and then he came back and he, won at 1.5 miles last time. So I guess those distances are fine for him. Cutting back to 9 furlongs isn't supposed to hurt him, and he's in good form right now. There could be a good trip coming. I can't knock this horse.
I think you have to wonder if the 2 Aquaphobia is one of those Michael Maker specials just waiting to explode. This is a horse that was claimed by Maker 2 starts back, and they ran him in a great spot. One of those starter stakes races at Gulfstream. Let's watch Aquaphobia's win on February the 17th. He's just better than these horses. And he ran a 95 buyer speed figure going the mile in a 16th. Maker, as we've said many times on our DRFTV programs, just has a knack for claiming these turf horses, stretching them out in distance, and getting the most out of them. I wouldn't be surprised if Aquaphobia moves up at a price.
I wouldn't either, Dan. He got a perfect trip in that race that we just watched, but you saw how easily he won it. It really did seem like Maker got this horse back to his, best form. And this is a horse who has a lot of back class as well. So if Maker can keep him going in this direction, he could be pretty tough in here.
I wonder if the 3 Don't Blame Rocket's going to be a little bit under the radar in this race. He had won 3 consecutive races going into the Fairground Stakes last time out. He was bet hard in that race, and that was the race where Factor This just got loose on the lead and walked around the track. There were many handicappers at the Fairgrounds that thought on the turf course that week you needed to be inside, and Don't Blame Rocket was not inside, and maybe that compromised him.
Yeah, I mean, if that's true, then he certainly was compromised last time. He never got over towards the inside. He didn't run well either. He was never a factor in that race. But maybe he has an excuse, even though he won the Bradley 2 starts back and he looked good winning it. Man, he got such a perfect trip in that race that it made me reluctant to take him back in this spot.
Rock Emperor, Group 3 placed in France, made his North American debut last summer in the Belmont Derby. He had a miserable post position 14, and John Velasquez did everything he could. He basically just took him back to the rail and last on the backstretch. He had to alter course very sharply to the widest berth in mid-stretch, and he came with a good kick. And based on that effort, he was favored in the Saratoga Derby, a race that produced 3 next out winners. Now, after that race, Chad Brown mentioned to our correspondent Marcus Hirsch that he got body sore, he kicked him out. This is a spot for a comeback, and if this horse can come back, he'll be running late.
Yeah, he will. I'm not opposed to taking the upside horse in this race, and Rock Emperor might be the upside horse. As you mentioned, he ran really well in the Belmont Derby. He didn't run quite as well at Saratoga, but that race got wired by a thread of blue, and then he went right to the sidelines after that. I'm not betting this horse, Dan, but I'm not going to be surprised when he takes a step forward in here.
Captivating Moon is also cross-centered in the New Orleans Classic. This is a horse that's solid on turf and dirt. He is not a superstar. He is a horse that would appreciate a little bit of pace. I just wonder if this race comes up a bit tough for him.
It might. I don't know where they're going to run him. I like him a lot better as a turf horse because I think his running style is better suited to the grass. And he's got a big kick in him when he can get the right trip and catch a little bit of pace. If they run him in the turf race, I'll try and use him somewhere.
In still regard, when the Lecomptier on dirt is a 3-year-old, but as I mentioned in the open, has really turned it around since Chad switched him to turf 2-back. He won the Fort Lauderdale with just a beautiful trip, where he was able to save ground in behind the leaders, split horses, and was able to get it done. And he had a similar trip in the Pegasus, Mike. We're going to take a look at that race. He has the tactical speed to get these kind of good trips. In still regard's going to run third in the Pegasus behind the streaking Zulu Alpha, who came back to win the McDermott with a 107 buyer and is probably the best turf horse in North America right now. In still regard, has no problem with a 1 1/8. And again, his tactical speed really serves him well. He's probably the horse to beat.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all that stuff, Dan. I can't say that I'm a huge fan of this horse, but everything that you just said about him is absolutely true. It looks like he's going to get a good trip in this race. He got a great one last time in the Pegasus. He just happened to get outfinished by a couple of horses who were better than him, but he still ran a nice race. And if he runs that race back in this spot, he's probably going to be very tough to beat.
Millionaire Henley's Joy will be making his first start for trainer Steve Asmussen, and this is a horse who's just been managed very well throughout his career. Michael Maker had him for his first 17 starts. He's a Grade 1 winner of the Belmont Derby. I'm a bit disappointed with his last two.
Yeah, I agree. If he's a big price, I wouldn't just totally dismiss him. I'm like you, though. I was a little disappointed in his race last time. Not that I expected him to win the Pegasus World Cup Turf, but he got the kind of ride that I wanted him to get that day, where they put him right up close to the pace, and he just was no match for those horses. It was pretty disappointing. Can he rebound? Maybe he can. I'm not so sure I love this trainer change either, though.
Number 8 is Channel Maker. This horse was a Canadian Classic winner in 2017, a Grade 1 stakes winner the following 2 years, yet I can certainly understand any handicapper that's starting to get a little bit tired of his act. It's been a lot of close but no cigar finishes for Channel Maker, and I still think Bill Mott is wondering what this horse's best distance is. Is it longer? Is it shorter? Channel Maker was fourth last time out in the McDermott, his first race since the Breeders' Cup Turf. He was in behind horses briefly on the turn. He came with a decent enough run. Zulu Alpha just a better horse than he is right now. I think with that race under his belt, he's going to be fit and ready to go. I just am not sure what kind of trip he pulls going 1 1/8, or whether he's as effective at that distance as he is at longer.
I agree with. I can't argue with any of that, Dan. I don't know what his best distance is either. He's good going longer, but he was good going shorter in the past too. I just ultimately decided not to worry about the distance with him because he's tactical enough to get a trip. He didn't run great last time with a trip that I thought ultimately worked out, but he didn't run terribly either. I don't know. He fits really well in this race, so I have to use him somewhere, even though based on his recent form, I can't say that I love him in this race.
Factor this is the number 9 Gate to Wire winner last time out at a price. We talked about that Fairground Stakes. It just seemed like that day you needed to be on the inside. Factor this was on the inside. Synchrony saved ground till about the 3/16 pole before getting to the outside. Maybe that cost him a little bit. I'm taking nothing away from Factor this, who has been a wonderful claim for Brad Cox and just is a very solid horse. And if he gets loose, I guess he's very, very dangerous in here. But the presence of the horse next door, the number 10, might make Factor this work a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll see what kind of trip he can get. Whether I don't know if he's going to get loose on the lead in here, Dan. I don't know if he needs to get loose on the lead to run his best race. It does feel like last time was probably sort of the time to have him. I'm going to let him beat me in this race.
Secretariat wore lots of changes here, the number 10, claimed by Norm Cassie, blinkers on, first-time gelding. This is a horse that has some backability. But last time out for the $40,000 tag, Mike, I just didn't really see any excuses. He was up close to a moderate pace. There was no finish in the stretch at 6-5. I think they're taking a shot here.
I do too. I didn't see anything out of his last race that made me want to bet him. And it's also just worth noting, and maybe he's just a different horse now as a gelding and with blinkers on, but even back when he was in really good form in New York, he seemed like more of a miler type and didn't want to go much farther than that.
Well, oh, marked so. He had his chances last time out in the Connolly, a race we showed when the beaten favorite behind Dot Matrix. But still, Maker's done his magic with this horse. He claimed him for 62.5, turned him into a graded stakes winner. I'm not sure about the mile and an eighth. Last time he tried it in the Fort Lauderdale, he pressed the pace. There was just nothing there for him in the lane. I think he's just better going longer.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Listen, as much as I liked his first two starts off the claim for Maker, and he did have a bit of a trip in the Red Smith after that, I don't like his last two races that much.
Now, I mentioned that In Still Regard might be the horse to beat. I'll amend that. I think In Still Regard and Synchrony are the horse says to beat. Synchrony, we know, loves the fairgrounds, and his last race just looked like an excellent prep effort. He was inside. He got to the deeper footing at the 3/16. He came with a good, strong kick. He just got wired in a situation where the pace wasn't there. The pace will be better for Synchrony this time around. What kind of trip does he get from post 12? Does it really matter with his running style?
Yeah, maybe it doesn't. I mean, it's post 12 is no bargain, obviously, but with his running style, it's not supposed to, just be something that he can't possibly overcome. His back form speaks for itself. I thought he ran really well off the layoff last time. I love the way he was finishing up in there, Dan. I think he's very, very tough in this race with his good race.
Bundi Bunan completes the field. Haven't seen him since the Keeneland Fall meet, but he closed out 2019 with a bang. This victory on October the 23rd, coming from off the pace, going a mile and 3/16. He's tried Stakes Company, though, Mike, 3 times in the past, and he's run okay, but not well enough that makes me think off the layoff from post 13, he's going to be ready to take down some salty turf horses.
Yeah, it's just a really tough spot for him off of this layoff. And then from this post, just adding that in makes it doubly tough. He ran fine in this race we're watching right now, but even a repeat of that's not going to get him much in this race, I don't think.
Top pick time for the Grade 2 $300,000 Muniz Memorial Classic. You're going with Synchrony. I agree with you in that his last race was just, I think, a harbinger of things to come. He ran very, very well that day. He loves the fairgrounds. He just seems to excel in these races. We talked a little bit about Channel Maker, and maybe he's a bit inconsistent, but I know on his best day, he's just as talented as these horses, and I think he might actually go off a fairly decent price.
Yeah, I think he might too. I'm not going to argue with that top pick at all, Dan. He's good enough to beat this field for sure. I'm going to use him. I'm going to use Instilled Regard. I just don't love those two horses. And Synchrony, to me, ran very well last time. I'm happy to take him on top.
Synchrony, Mike's top selection in the Grade 2 Muniz Memorial. I'll go with Bill Mott and Channel Maker. Approximate post time for the Muniz Memorial Classic, 3:42 Central. Good luck.